Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Friday here. We're so happy you're here, and we are so happy to be here. I'm Jan Jeremias, and for recording purposes and for people who don't know me, for more than 35 years, I've been in the health and wellness world um, and have woven it into the fabric of my own life, but now for the past 2 decades have um, taken that passion and worked with other people and their pets to help them live happier, healthier lives. And today I'm really pleased and honored to be here with all of you, and especially with my dear friend and collaborator, Mary Jane. So I'll pass it to you, MJ.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, welcome everyone. And yes, as Jan mentioned, for purposes of recording, I am Mary Jane or MJ, as I'm known in some social circles. And I am a graphic designer who loves to support my clients with kindness, empathy, and compassion, and leading them back to their own creativity so that they can really put their mission and vision out into the world in a way that feels authentic to them. And of course, I also love all aspects of graphic design. So, because I'm quirky that way, I love to do things other than that niche of branding and logo development to create things such as wonderful event things, for signage and invitations and the like. So, really enjoy supporting my clients in whatever it is they're trying to put out into the world. And as always, I am honored to be here with Jan. And I know that was her it's not her mission statement for this year for herself, but she always shines brightly, and she's definitely been that source of brightness for me this week. So I definitely appreciate that immensely, and I appreciate you for being here and bringing such um, love to this space. So thank you.
Thank
Um,
you, dear friend. You want to share our poem?
yeah, I will definitely do that. So the poem is called She Let Go by Sapphire Rose. And it reads, She let go. She let go without a thought or a word. She let go. She let go of the fear. She let go of the judgments. She let go of the confluence of opinions swarming around in her head. She let go of the committee of indecision within her. She let go of all the right reasons, wholly and completely, without hesitation or worry. She just let go. She didn't ask anyone for advice. She didn't need read a book or on how to let go. She didn't search the scriptures. She just let go. She let go of all the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She let go of the planning and all the calculations about how to do it just right. She didn't promise to let go. She didn't journal about it. She didn't write the projected date in her daytimer. She made no public announcement and put no ad in the paper. She didn't check the weather report or read her daily horoscope. She just let go. She didn't analyze whether she should let go. She didn't call her friends to discuss the matter. She didn't do a 5-step spiritual mind treatment. She didn't call the prayer line. She didn't utter one word. She just let go. No one was around when it happened. There was no applause or congratulations. No one thanked her or praised her. No one noticed a thing. Like a leaf falling from a tree, she just let go. There was no effort. There was no struggle. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It was what it was, and it is just that. In the space of letting go, she let it all be. A smile came over her face. A light breeze blew through her. and the sun and the moon shone forevermore.
Thank you for sharing that so much, Mary Jane, and bringing once again a smile to my face as I read some, as you voiced some of those lines. Welcome to the gift we keep, the story we release. Welcome. We are so glad you're here. This is a space to pause, to breathe, and to be fully present with yourself, a space to honor the experiences that have shaped your journey, the moments of joy, of challenge, of heartache, and of growth. Every experience carries a gift. And today we come together to notice those gifts, to hold them gently, and to allow ourselves the freedom to release the weight of the stories that no longer serve us. We often carry our stories as if they define us, replaying old moments, holding on to old plans or pains, and clinging to the identities that they have created. Yes, yet within every story, there is a treasure, a lesson, a moment of insight, a spark of resilience, a whisper of understanding that can be kept without holding on to the burden. Here we explore the delicate art of keeping the wisdom and letting go of the rest. As you move through this gathering, you are invited to reflect on the experiences that have shaped you. Notice what arises to the surface: memories, emotions, sensations, and ask yourself, what is the gift I choose to carry forward? What story am I ready to release? There is no right or wrong. There is only what is yours in this moment to witness, to honor, and to set free. Together, we will create space for gentle reflection, mindful awareness, and heartfelt release. We will allow ourselves to let go of what no longer serves while embracing what nourishes the heart and strengthens the spirit. This is a practice of curiosity, compassion, presence, and freedom. A tender invitation to move from clinging to understanding and from holding on to stories to carrying forward wisdom. May this gathering help you uncover the treasures hidden within your experiences. May it give you the courage to release what you no longer need. And may you leave with a heart lighter, fuller, and more at peace. Welcome. You're exactly where you're meant to be.
I don't know, Jan, there was something about the way you said the word peace that brought peace into my being. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Without effort. There you go. What a concept today is. I mean, there's so many ways of the way the story, our story, how sometimes we can let it define us, and sometimes it's not really necessarily for me has never been it's not necessarily the best way to go about it because sometimes the stories lie, as I like to say. The stories I tell myself sometimes lie. So it's just I love the idea of being able to um, let go of those narratives that speak to me sometimes, and realizing that it's what's going to bring me peace if I let it. There's that word again, peace. Like if I just let it go. So it's a powerful topic, I think, just about how we work, our minds work at least.
Hmm. Well, I think it was funny how we decided to come to this topic.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Was our shared story.
Yes,
So Mary Jane and
absolutely.
I were talking last Friday about the fact that at the end of our our marriages, whatever those experiences were, traumatic, whatever, and we both sat there and we were like, okay, well, what do we do with our engagement rings? I know it's odd, but I was like, I loved my diamond ring, but I wasn't going to wear it anymore. And she loved the ring she had. And so I said to her, "Oh, I took it and I designed a necklace and I had it made into a necklace." And she said to me, "Oh my gosh, I took it and I created a ring." And it was like we took this experience, this story, and we reaped what we took the wisdom and then we created literally like a treasure from
Of
it
our own.
of our own that we both created. Like we designed them.
Hmm.
And like I did the same thing. I went to a jeweler and I said, this is exactly what I want to do. I want this here and this here and this here. And they created it for me. And she did the same thing with a ring. And so we thought it was hysterical because we both had that same exact, you know, where we created something beautiful from something that could have symbolized, great hardship and great heartbreak. So, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
how we came up with, basically reaping the gifts from the story and, from the story itself and then letting the story go, like letting that story go and keeping the treasure. So,
Yes.
yeah, that was how we came up with the title and how we decided to come up with this was kind of our shared synchronicity, our shared path.
Well, exactly. But there's so much truth to the whole thing behind it of of what it means. It's like, it's the story, taking the story and seeing, yes, not bypassing the feeling and the emotion that came with it, but flipping that script, flipping it on its head and saying, no, this isn't, I'm better than this. There's more to me and my story as I see it than all of that. So,
Absolutely. And the fact that, we kept the wisdom.
yes,
So we kept the insights we gained. We incorporated what we had learned into who we became. So it wasn't like we left everything.
no,
We took what were the positives that came from that experience, what it had brought us, what we had learned from it, the compassion we gained from it. You
yeah,
know,
compassion for ourselves.
that's right, the compassion and forgiveness for ourselves.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it was a great, a great story.
It was an
Great,
interesting revelation, let's
great
just
to
say.
say that. Thank you. And so, Seamus, please.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Another lovely topic, and like what a perfect poem as well. Like, I just really love the poem, and I had my eyes closed, and I was breathing as you were reading. Like, and just a couple of words came to me as your like choice has come up, like in what you mentioned there, John, and your reflection as well, and that was coming to mind for me. But as you're reading it, like to make that courageous choice, like when we feel so overwhelmed by our narratives that, as you mentioned, Mary Jane, don't serve us, and they're lies, and they have a great power over us in that moment, like through the breath, and we've mentioned breath before, as breath as a bridge, like a breath as a connector, and breath as a courage, a source of courage for us to make choices that we felt we couldn't make. And that's what's been coming to mind for me through, what we've been sharing so far is the power of choice and the power of stillness, I suppose, through breath that enables us to feel we can make choices and act in a way that we felt we couldn't act before. So really, like that's where it goes back between the paradox between effort and effortlessness around like we through that process of being still and somehow connecting to the courage that allowed us to act in a way that we felt we couldn't act before, challenge the narrative. We then choose to act, and then there's some effort involved in that, but then we immediately feel the effortlessness of the benefit that emerges almost immediately out of that effortful action from our own inner wisdom that allows us to challenge the narrative and opens the channel and opens the door to who we really are, what we're about, what we care about. So, and the final thing I suppose I would just mention is it's there's a can in every moment, and I think I mentioned this maybe before about the choice, about the action, and about noticing. and choice opportunity is something I was actually working with a client on during the week. Sometimes when we have so many choices, we become overwhelmed. But I think what came back to me in the poem and what we've been speaking about so far is stripping away all the complexity and all the the obstacles we put in the way. Sorry, my dog is going nuts here behind me. Sorry, guys. And all the obstacles we put in our way. But what came back to me, like through the poem and through what you shared, was the simplicity of having the courage to choose and then to act and then to notice and then to choose again, take another action and notice. And every moment is a can moment or a can do moment. When we strip away the complexity, we strip away the narratives and we allow ourselves to connect through our own unique core inner wisdom, like our inner knowing that allows us then to, to choose to act to notice, to choose to act to notice and experience, back to that word experience. Oh, this is what it feels like, to have the courage to make that effortful courage, let's say, a gentle nudge to ourselves. And then we immediately experience the liberation, the relief, the release, the power of having the courage to act, to let go about something that really held us in a way that we could really never understand until we had the courage to kind of engage with it and act to let it go, I guess. So yeah, thanks so much, like Mary Jane Jan, for this lovely topic.
Well, thank you, Seamus. And yeah, in one of the articles that we read in preparation, first of all, one of the things she mentioned that really resonated, like, was that whole idea of action. Like letting go isn't like we think of it as like almost like it falls off or it's just like, but it's really it is an action. And so that really like it's a conscious effort or a conscious decision to let go of something. And so that was really because it always seems like almost seems like it's opposing, like they're opposite, but it's not. And that it's a compassionate choice. Like, and I really loved that. Like, I think that we hold on to things so dearly because we have this idea, and Pema Chodron explores this a lot because it feels safe, or there's something about it, I guess, that feels familiar and safe. So we hold on to things for fear of letting them go. It becomes so much, I think it's probably because we identify with it to some extent, like it becomes a part of our identity. And so we hold on because it's almost like we don't know who we are without it. And then we also hold on because the thought of not holding on is too overwhelming, like you mentioned. And so it's like, okay. And then it's creating enough space, being present with whatever you're feeling, um, being mindful, or you can call it a mindfulness at like practice, to make a choice, a conscious choice to let it go. And the more you do that, that new space becomes then the new norm, so to speak.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I really loved how when we were doing the thing, I was like, it's like learning to let go of the old stories, and yes, that new insights and wisdom can and in fact freedom ultimately can come into our being. It's not always as I was put in the chat. Sometimes it's there's there's a comfort in the discomfort or a comfort in the things we know, even though it's uncomfortable. So, and it's really about often speaking from my own experience, it's the fear of letting go and not knowing what's coming um in front of us. And so it's really about an exercise in trust, I suppose.
Absolutely. And once you said that, it's so interesting because I feel like sometimes in the letting go, it's like that emptiness
Yes.
is really, it is uncomfortable. And so we feel the need to fill it with something. It's kind of like, okay, well, what can I put there next? Or what can I substitute in? Because this space is almost like too, you know. It's too much. It's like it's too unpredictable. I don't know what's going to go in. I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to unfold. And so we feel almost this compelling feeling of like, I must put something in there in its place.
Let's fill it up
Let's
versus,
fill it up versus let's make a conscious choice of what we choose for to be there.
well, exactly. And sometimes of in the process of letting go, it's like it just it's like moving more into a feeling of flow energy, right? So letting go and just trusting and letting that space be there so that whatever wants to flow back in,
Hmm.
it's going to come back to us. And that's it's and yeah, I mean, as life keeps lifing, as I like, as my friend says to me all the time, it's one of those things is that, yeah, there's going to be good things and there might be, I'll say bad things, but things that are challenging is probably a better choice of words. But just really um, accepting those for what they are, because we know those things are going to come and go if we let them come and go, not bypass them, but just let them go, come in, recognize them, and let them go.
Yeah, that's right, Seamus. Letting go creates space for our own inner knowing. It
Yeah.
creates space for freedom,
Mm,
whether that be freedom of choice, just spaciousness. Um, when you're so, I want to say, limited by the story, or there's no space for anything. It's almost like, it really is, you've decided how something is going to turn out
mm.
before it happens.
Yeah, it's for me, I know in the past few years for, the inner work that I've been doing, I mean, we have so many stories in our heads about ourselves often. Sometimes about others too, but often it comes down to me. And so it's just an interesting thing of being able to letting go of those things and finding the wisdom, finding the juicy bits, as a friend likes to say, that are the things that are the lessons to guide us forward and not be hard on ourselves for those things that may happen or challenges that may happen around us, but realizing um, and what I know what I can't remember is one of the articles they were talking about. They were saying she said that letting go doesn't mean getting what you want. That letting go simply offers sweet, sweet freedom. And I thought, wow, what what a wonderful way to look at that. It's kind of what I was speaking to earlier about the flow of coming and going. Um, it just allowing that space to exist as it is and not trying to fill it up as we humans like to do. And sort of letting stuff flow in as it's meant to and trusting that it's going to guide us on the right path as we move forward.
I mean, it's always going to be the right path in some
Yeah.
way or another.
Hmm.
Um, there's really never a wrong path.
No, we make a slightly off path, perhaps sometimes, but ultimately by trusting and letting things flow, then we gradually, hopefully, that's the goal. The observation is that we move back to the path that's right for us.
Yeah, and I think that if you look at it as an opportunity
Mm,
for that wisdom, it's not really, it's like, I don't know, when I think when you look back at your life, you realize that nothing was ever wasted. Like the experience was never wasted. Might be different than you thought, but it wasn't like you gained something from it, became a part of who you were or who you are. And you just, everything in your life is like that.
So yeah, absolutely. It's just it's such an interesting way the way human beings operate for sure, and you know it's yeah, I love this topic just because it's such an interesting perspective of being able to take that story. And the value of the story sometimes isn't, I mean, yes, we may get value from the story as it unfolds, but there's often as we share our stories, that's the other part of it, the other piece,
Mm.
right? It says that there's somebody out there that really needs to hear our story because they need to feel like they're not alone on the path that they're on, and to realizing that you know everything will be as it's meant to be, and they are not alone. So there's such wisdom in that too, of honoring that the lesson in the story, and realizing that perhaps it's something that somebody else is going through in some other context right now that they need to um hear that, just to know that they are in community and they are not alone in their experience of life, no matter how it unfolds.
Absolutely. And as you were just getting ready to say that, that's exactly, of course, what I was thinking. Is I think that there's such great power in the sharing of stories, and really, um, you know, in conjunction with this, when Mary Jane and I were talking last Friday, we were talking about like basically every sort of spiritual tradition, how much story and storytelling was a far part of culture, of family life, of experience, of wisdom. It was just stories that were either passed on or stories that were shared. And it was so much a part of, learning and wisdom, and also that whole idea of shared community, of being able to feel supported and realize that you're not alone, that you're not the only one in the world who's having that experience, whatever that experience is. Maybe the exact details are somewhat different,
Yes.
but this, but our experiences when we shared that story about, in the beginning between the two of us, each having, well, the details may not have been exactly the same, but a lot of the wisdom we gained was quite similar.
Hmm.
And that treasure we created happened to have been very similar. But um, but it was very that experience taught us both, and that, you know, sharing that story, we get to share it with all of you, but we get to share it with other people. And that's, the value of, I think, just being open with people and connecting with people. And
Absolutely. And there's a vulnerability to that too. But that's an uncomfortableness sometimes about that as well. But boy, the value, receiving that from the other side, having received other people's stories and recognizing myself in them, have been invaluable to me for sure. Um, I was just thinking about it. It's like I think it's like communities like this one and others that we're part of. It's so important for us to share our stories of doing the inner work, or whatever phrase you want to call it, but just moving forward with our lives and recognizing the power of our stories and sharing that with others. Me, my belief in that is that by sharing our truth, by sharing our stories, this is what's going to change the world. It may seem like really slow drips right now, really small things, because sometimes all the other stories that maybe we don't want to hear, the negative ones, are trying to take over. But there's a lot more of us to put out our positive stories, are the way to put out things that are our truth, to share, that could really change the world.
I agree. I think because it's the connection, the humanity that becomes apparent,
Yeah.
um, and obvious to people. And then all of a sudden, I really do believe, I think you're right. I think it is the living, breathing of each person that, all of a sudden you're like, okay. And, um, maybe I'll just share an excerpt, from something I read. I shared something by Mark Nepo last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about, um, he says, the truth is we live in a modern world in which so many of us have lost our direct connection with life. And to me, these stories are life. Like that's what made me think of it. Why is it important to be directly connected to life? Because when deeply connected, we feel a reverence for life. And when we feel a reverence for life, we can't do harm.
That's so true. And and as they say, and so it is.
Right. And so it should be.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously I'm a huge fan of his work and his writing. But yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a depth to his interpretation of stuff too, but yes, it's like to it's funny as you were reading that I was it the song by John Lennon, Imagine, just came into my head, like it just popped straight in there. I'm like, oh. So there is lots of truth in those lyrics for sure. They stand the test of time because, as we know, um, humans in this world are destined to keep repeating things
Mhm.
that maybe we don't want want. Some of us don't may not want to see in the world, but um, may the hope and the dream and imagining of that world of peace. There's the word again. See, peace.
Mm-hmm.
um, can come into being.
Absolutely. And so I've been thinking about that song a lot of late. Imagine.
Hmm.
Um, I used to live right outside Central Park, right, like literally like up the block from the from Strawberry Fields, which was the part of it was actually I lived two buildings over from where John Lennon lived.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and well, he wasn't living there at the time; he had passed away. But
Yeah.
Yoko Ono still lived there, and she had created an area in Central Park called Strawberry Fields,
Oh, I love it.
and there was a big mosaic, ground mosaic on the ground, created in tile with Imagine, which said Imagine.
Ah.
So I used to walk by it a lot. So that was in my mind this week
Hmm.
as I thought about him and the song and the words.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's
And I agree with you. History just people have this, you know, and so I'll maybe continue on with this reading by Mark Nepo. He says, when cut off and adrift, we go numb, and the need to be connected in a meaningful way with ourselves, each other, and life doesn't go away. In many ways, violence is a desperate attempt to feel. Every soul has faced this, every family has faced this, every age has faced this. What to do when cut off and numb and feeling less than. We can break the things around us or we can strengthen our connections. Our job today and every day in our lives, in our cities, and in our struggles is be the last good gesture standing. For every authentic exchange is healing, and we have to be the healthy souls at work in the global body.
it's such a beautiful perspective, isn't it, Jan? It really is about taking the story and finding the lesson and making it our own. He really speaks to that, the depth of that in his writing for sure.
Yeah, he has an ability to write where it's like, um, I don't know, there is a real depth and richness to the words he chooses.
Mm.
They're very Like there's a real consciousness, a real like deliberateness and the choice in the actual words themselves.
Absolutely.
John, Jeff, I can just comment on that as well. Like, this brings us back like to storytelling, and like the word that's coming to mind is you know, we touched on it I think earlier about like the ripple effect of choices and the courage to make choices that we felt we couldn't, and it kind of goes back to kind of just what you mentioned there as well around when we have the courage to make a choice and act in a way that we felt we couldn't act before, that becomes itself like the beginning of a ripple effect, a true ripple effect that Otto Scharmer and Katrin Kauffer speak about in that lovely book, Presence Thing, which I've mentioned before as well. And the first kind of step of three of seven steps that I've just mentioned, three, is that noticing, like it's like to creating that sense of a foundation for action through just being still and noticing what's going on within ourselves and noticing and getting curious. You mentioned curiosity earlier with the narratives that are holding us back, and then to listen to internally what's going on, but then to listen to others, and then the third like step of seven was the dialogue that emerges in a storytelling scenario. We have the courage to act, to share something we may not have felt comfortable sharing before, then through that whole process of courage of choosing to share something that was very, very uncomfortable, then a beautiful dialogue emerges out of that. It's an invitation for other people to share in that storytelling tradition of, you know, when we create the courage to act and share, it's an invitation for other people to act and share. And that is, in effect, the ripple effect of action, person by person, group by group, you know, community by family, community by community. That is the foundation, I think, of the type of work that we're talking about here, you know, about individual action, individual choices that, you know, are effortful, but then, you know, through that effortful action, there's a almost effortless ripple effect that emanates out of that, that's limitless in nature when we have the courage. And, you know, that's like back to the seed of action, and then the tree, the ripple that emanates from that small, what seems like a small individual choice, has such energy and carries such energy way beyond as, you know, further than we can imagine, I think, you know.
No, absolutely. And I think it begins with, um, when you were talking, Shamus, I think it begins with us really being present for our own story, is, taking that time to be actually present for our own story, to allow that story to be for a time. I remember when I was in the throes or in the trauma of my whole, marriage or whatever at the end, everybody wanted me to do all these different things to get over it, like move on already, like how fast can you go through this? Let's go through, you're still there. You're still, thinking about this. You're still, like all the things people would say. And I remember I just like it's not in me to Mary Jane says you don't do anything easy, like, like why make it easy, you of course you'd take that way, but I couldn't do that. I mean, I had a lot of people telling me a lot of different solutions, some medical, some not medical, and I remember sitting there and I couldn't, like, I had to process it, like I had to be with it. It was as hard as it was. I realized that if I didn't, it was going to be worse. If I didn't, if, and I'm not saying that was my path, but, and could be other people's path if I share that part of the story, but that wasn't the choice I wanted. Maybe it wasn't easy and I could have, like, but I had to do it. It was like my way of grieving, or, you know, taking the story, keeping the wisdom, and then allowing the rest of it to go. And some of it was, it's the acknowledgement of your role in the story and taking responsibility for that, forgiving yourself. And Mary Jane and I were talking about this last week, in a conversation. It was like sort of looking back, and they say, the whole expression of hindsight is 2020, realizing that where we were at that time, we couldn't see a lot of what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it took me a long time to realize that. I remember saying to myself over and over again, like, if I, how could I not see? How could I not see what was there and what was like obvious to me, like, now? Because I couldn't, I was in it, and it wasn't possible for me to see it, like almost in the muck of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so true, isn't it? It's just like sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you can't see past a few feet in front of me. But yes, I am that person too, Jan. I mean, I had to work through the process in my own way, and it's like any kind of grief when you look at it. It's interesting how I think people in this room here know that grief happens in different stages, and it goes forward and it comes back and goes forward and comes back. It's not a straight linear path for sure. And it's interesting how people want other people to just get over it already. And that's not how that's not how life works in general. Yes, you can set things aside and move forward, but at the same time, not working through the process, the whole grief is not beneficial in the long run either. It's for the working through the grief is actually the story. That's the way I look at it.
uh-huh. No, good point. And I agree with you. And I think that there is no rushing it. And part of it is, and I understand um this, like if when you're on the outside watching someone suffer, your immediate response is you want them to move out of it so they're not in pain.
It's also a
So
comfortable place for you to be watching.
exactly. That's right. It's a very uncomfortable place for you to be watching because you feel somewhat helpless. It probably brings up your own
Challenges.
your own
Yeah.
challenges to some extent. So all of a sudden, you're around somebody and you're like, this is a very awkward place to be. It's very uncomfortable. Like I don't know, you don't necessarily know what to say, but you realize that you really don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
Just be
Often
there.
it's just being present, isn't it?
That's right.
And like any situation, just being present, being willing to listen.
That's right. And saying nothing.
That's right.
Like we were talking about the power of a hug yesterday. It's
Yeah.
just to be there and basically give someone a hug and say, okay, I'm here. You're not alone.
Yes, well, and there's actual backing to the power of the hug, isn't there? So
That's right. We'll,
I
we'll get into
know,
that.
I know there's
Yes.
at least one person in the room that might feel uncomfortable with hugs, but that's okay because we love them anyway. That's just a joke. Just so you know.
So, Al, did you want to share something?
Yeah, I'm sharing the acronym for this week. So
Okay.
Awesome.
the word abyss, yeah. So this come back to the story. The abyss, the film was in 1989, right? This one by Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth. So this is even though it's a fictional story, but it was based on a true earthquake happened in May 2020 in Kiruna, Sweden. Where there's a mine located there. So it's because of excavation, like we are getting so it's the awareness, the A is for the awareness, awareness of our vulnerabilities, and we are going down to the B, which is the bottom. So that means we are digging down in depth, like how you mentioned in your post, the treasure that we are going deep down inside, that we have to search within ourselves and all that. And the why comes down to YOLO. YOLO is that you only live once, So you have to just to find the inner self within you. When you go deep down in depth, maybe as deep as even down the sunken hole, in between that. And there's also a movie called Singularity, which is the first S. So Singularity is a movie about people going deep down to find out the and singularity in this scientific world is like a point at which a function takes an infinite value, especially in space and time, where matter is infinitely dense, such as the center of a black hole. Means we have to go in to discover our stories, which are the last S, the stories within us and how we can develop it, and leaving a legacy within ourselves, and also for the future generations, for our friends, for our families, and for forever. So the three F's comes in. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. As always, please pop the acronym in the chat for us. We appreciate them each week. They actually bring so much to the conversation. So, Paul, dear Paul.
MJ, was that aimed at me?
Well, I know I was in another room and another time and space, and that conversation about hugging came up. So I was like, "Oh
I
yeah,
did say I
that's
wouldn't
right."
mind hugging you, but
Oh,
no.
I'm
I was
sorry. I
just,
had to tease. I couldn't help it. It's just in my
no, it's
nature.
fine. I don't
And I
mind.
won't, and I won't be jealous.
Oh,
Oh,
Jan, I'll hug you too.
Thank you.
Um, you put a smile on my face. Just ironically, um, the topic, the subject matter, is sort of so appropriate because I'm sitting here while I'm listening to your lovely conversation, going through notes on an estate matter in South Africa where I have to take action against the executor of the estate, and I'm working through all of that. And as you're talking, it brings back memories and so on. And then the one thing that I wanted to this came up for me. I mean, I don't have much to add to all your wisdom today, but was the worst thing I think is I think some people have a need for certainty. I've come across it with coaches where and I know one specific, it was very clear about, oh, this is the steps of grief and it's no other way. And I'm one of those people who don't really respond well to being told anything. And I was like, we all grieve differently. We really do just grieve differently. And for anybody to say, here's the playbook on grief, this is what you have to do, don't land with me. Anyway, thanks again. Lovely conversation.
Thank you, Paul, because I agree with you. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. It is such a unique process, and it's so intertwined with whatever you're grieving for.
mm,
Your relationship with that person, your relationship with yourself, if it happens to be like you're grieving a part of yourself. I mean, that was part of what I was grieving when my marriage ended. It was who I was through that whole thing, which all of a sudden disintegrated. And so, or I felt like it disintegrated. So it was grieving that whole aspect. So it has to do with the relationship with the person. And therefore, like I look at the way I grieved my dad when he passed versus the way my brothers did, which was very different. They had a totally different relationship with him than I had. From beginning to end, they
yeah.
had a different relationship, through when we were younger, through the whole caretaking, which I was much more involved with. So I had a very different process and reaction to losing him then, which was actually, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience for me. It was hard, but it was beautiful in so many ways. And I think so much of it has to do with, not only it has to do with how long you're grieving, you know, for my dad, he had been ill, like, he had been declining for a few years. And so I think I'd been grieving him for a few years. And so when the actual, death happened, it was very different because to me, I'd been watching that gradual kind of decline for a very long period of time, for, quite an extended period of time versus, my brothers who didn't see him as often. So it was very different. And I don't look, that's why we can't judge anybody for the way they grieve. And I think that that's where, wisdom from experiences like that loss and like my marriage and other things that have happened,
Mm.
hopefully you carry that wisdom with you when you encounter other people who are grieving or who have loss. And we all grieve something. Like I said, I mean, could be a move. I mean, it doesn't have to be a death.
Yes. Anything that involves change in any way, shape, or form that affects our emotions and our sense of often our sense of stability, because even if whether it's stable or not, we have this innate sense of it feeling like a stable thing. So yeah, it's all a growth moment. Fodder
Yes.
for the stories.
Powder. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for this conversation today, Jan. I'm really looking forward to, moving into your meditation because I'm sure it's going to be awesome as always.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so that being said, I think we will move into the meditation. So, welcome. Begin by finding a comfortable seat or a comfortable place, allowing your spine to be tall yet relaxed, your hands resting gently wherever that feels natural to you, letting your eyes softly close or lowering your gaze if that feels safe. Bring your attention to the rhythm of your breath, noticing its natural flow, rising and falling in your chest, the movement in your belly. Allow yourself to arrive fully here, leaving behind the rush of what came before and the pull of what comes next. Take a deep breath, a mindful breath, and feel the gentle weight of your body connecting you to the earth. Sense your feet on the floor, possibly, your seat on the chair, the subtle presence of your hands. And let this awareness anchor you in this moment, in this present moment. Now invite yourself to sense the stories you carry, the narratives about who you are, what happened, what you think you should have done, and what you believe you should feel. Notice any memories, emotions, or judgments that arise. Simply observe them without judgment. These stories are part of your experience, valuable for what they teach, but they do not define your essence. Imagine these stories as threads you carry. Some threads are golden, carrying insight, resilience, and moments of growth. Others are heavy, tangled, or no longer useful. With each gentle exhale, allow yourself to release the threads that weigh you down. You do not need to forget them. You simply loosen their hold, letting them unravel and drift away from your heart. Feel the space expand as the grip loosens, softening the tension in your body and your chest. With each inhale, gather the threads of wisdom, the gifts of the experience, the lessons learned, the strength gained, the moments of clarity, the understanding that has grown from challenge. Hold these threads softly in your heart. They are yours to keep, even as the stories that caused pain, worry, or fear move aside. Notice the sensations that arise as you let go, perhaps a lightness, perhaps a sense of quiet strength, or perhaps simply openness. Allow your breath to support this process, flowing naturally, steady, and calm. Know that releasing does not erase the past. It allows you to engage with it differently, with perspective, compassion, insight. You may choose to offer yourself a gentle affirmation, silently or softly. I honor the gift. I release the story. Rest in this, sensing how it feels to carry the lessons without the burden of the narrative. Let this awareness expand to include your whole being, your mind, body, and spirit, allowing calm, clarity, and freedom to fill every part of you. As you prepare to return your awareness to the room, notice the points of connection between your body and the floor, the chair, the seat, the surrounding space. Gently wiggle fingers and toes, feeling the aliveness in your body. And when you're ready, open your eyes softly, carrying with you the sense of peace, clarity, and inner wisdom. Remember, the story is not gone. It served its purpose, but the gifts are yours to hold. Take a deep, mindful breath and allow yourself to step into the rest of your day with the knowledge that your heart has room for both the gift and the release.
Beautiful, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving into our last poem for today.
Yes, by another wise Jan, Jan Richardson. It's called Blessing the Story. You might think this blessing lives in the story that you can see, that is curled up in a comfortable spot on the surface of the telling. But this blessing lives in the story beneath the story. It lives in the story inside the story, in the spaces between, in the edges, the margins, the mysterious gaps, the enticing and fertile emptiness. This blessing makes its home within the layers. This blessing is doorway and portal, passage and path. It is more ancient than imagining and makes itself ever new. This blessing is where the story begins.
That poem gives me chills and was such a synchronicity. Yesterday, I received a book from one of my students, and I opened the book, and it was that poem. And I was like, okay, guess we're supposed to read it today.
Yes.
So it was like, yeah, my beautiful student, Mary. So, yeah, I invited her today, but she was busy because I said, "Do you want to join us this morning?" But yeah. Mm.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you all for being here today, for joining us. Obviously, as always, Mary Jane and I welcome you to connect with us during the week. Um, our next four-part series with Darlene is beginning February 11th. So it's not this week, it's next Wednesday. We have a kind of quite a lot of posts out there. I'll be posting again either today or tomorrow. So feel free to register for that. It's February 11th and 18th, and then 2 Wednesdays in March. So that is truly exciting. Our next workshop for Spirit Born is March 14th,
Hmm.
a Saturday. It's a Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday at 2 p.m. I had to think about it for a moment. I almost said Sunday, but then realized we are only doing Saturdays for 2026. And
Yes.
we also released our package of 6 workshops we're doing together, Mary Jane and I. The first one being March 14th, but then, you know, till the end of the year, we're doing 6. So that's really exciting. Yeah, have a wonderful week. We love you all.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
We value each and every one of you so much.